Well, for more, let's cross to Washington. Former US Federal Prosecutor Eric Lisann joins us. Thanks for being with us here on France 24.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Eric, what was your first reaction last month when you saw that the president of France, the sitting president, was filing a lawsuit in Delaware?
That didn't faze me too much. I had not been paying any attention to the story itself, which basically circulated in sort of extremist right-wing silos. So the decision to bring a lawsuit might have risked what we call the Streisand effect, named after Barbara Streisand, calling attention to other people, that something which is apparently false, but which doesn't merit attention. But the attempt to fix it brings more attention to it. But if something reaches a certain point, and in this era where we have things that go viral very quickly and very powerful social media outlets that are backed by shady financial interests many times, sometimes the only way to address it is head on. And the way the legal system in the United States is structured, the only person that has standing is somebody that's directly victimized. We've seen cases like this before. Alex Jones was sued for vicious rumors he started, and he asserted as fact regarding Sandy Hook, that with the mass shooting in Connecticut that affected the victims there. Donald Trump himself was successfully sued for tens of millions of dollars, not once but twice, by E. Jean Carroll for defamation relating to a sexual assault he committed on her. So this has happened, and it's not entirely surprising because there's no other way to confront these things head on.
Yeah, that's the question. Is it effective? We saw just last week that the U.S. news outlet Newsmax settled out of court over a false rumor that voting machines were rigged during an election. Is it effective?
Well, it's all a matter of basic finances. It's basic economics. And that's the doctrine of punitive damages in the United States. If you're in a jurisdiction, and Delaware is one of those jurisdictions, that's where the business empire, so to speak, of Candace Owens is located, that allows punitive damages for this type of action. The goal of the damages is to make a difference. So it's not limited to the actual damages. It's designed to deter somebody from engaging in this kind of odious conduct, and the court has to find that it's odious conduct, socially reprehensible conduct, again. And that's where the finances of the defendants come into play, and the damages can be very large. On the other hand, it costs a fortune to bring such a case as well. So there's a lot at stake.
The track record in the United States when a politician sues a commentator?
Well, I cited the Alex Jones case. That was successful in establishing liability. It's now been several years where he's been shuffling between different bankruptcy courts and moving assets among various corporate entities. But it still substantially constrained him and made a difference. You don't see him repeating the vicious rumors and adjudicated lies that he told before. You don't even hear Donald Trump telling the same lies he said before about E. Jean Carroll. He's still appealing that case. It's a substantial judgment. If he hadn't been returned to office of the presidency, it would have bankrupted him. And that's the goal of these things, to make a difference financially, because that's the most direct way we know of to in the old common law legal system to put the victim as close as possible to the position they were in before the illegal conduct. We also have one other example. Johnny Depp brought an amazing case a couple years ago against his former wife, Amber Heard. He was very much a public figure. And he had incredible odds against him because he'd already lost in Europe in an English court under a very similar set of facts. But with a widened discovery that was available in a state court in Virginia, he was able to prove himself that the allegations made by his former wife were false, and he recovered several millions of dollars worth of damages. So this happens.
And so that brings us back to the case here. How strong a case does the French president have?
He's filed a 200-plus page indictment, chock full of details and exhibits and direct quotes from Candace Owens herself, which seems to lay out a fairly strong case. I think on the merits, it's going to be a very difficult case to breach. She might have to resort to the famous New York Times versus Sullivan defense, which is controversial in that it makes it harder to, as a public official, to recover damages, because you have to show that the defamatory statements were made with reckless knowledge of their falsity, and that has to be overcome. But based on the indictment itself and the amount of detail and evidence that appears in that indictment, at least superficially, it all has to be introduced in court, of course, and with witnesses. So it'll be a huge spectacle if it's a trial, an enormous spectacle. But if that happens, it looks like it's straightforward, if everybody testifies as they are in the indictment, that that Candace Owens knew she was making false statements and that she should be held liable for this, and that she did it for financial gain. And so therefore the damages must be sufficient to deter her or anybody else in that position from repeating this conduct. It could take years to play out, though.
And in the meantime, she's been, I guess, making more financial gains since she's basically talking about this a lot on her video posts. How much traction is this story getting where you are?
Well, not as much as in France. It gets traction in the conspiracy, the right-wing medias, which tend to be siloed off. They have large audiences, but people outside those audiences tend not to pay attention to them for the reasons that the stories are often like this. They're apparently completely false and fabricated, and it does damage to harm them. And it's very hard to pierce these social media bubbles, even though they're large. So I would not say that in the United States the story has had anywhere near the traction that it has had in France. I mean, most Americans couldn't even tell you who the president of France was, for one thing. But the U.S. courts are the only place where this kind of a remedy can be sought, that allows these types of damages and that allows what we call discovery in civil cases through the taking of depositions prior to the trial, the filing of interrogatories and subpoenas to third parties. No other legal system allows such discretion to the litigants to pursue it. And again, as I said, the cost is outrageous. Is going to be in the millions of dollars for sure. But it does allow for resolution of this, even though it may take time.
Eric Lisann, one final question. It's 2025 now, and the digital age is really in hyperdrive when it comes to spewing these conspiracy theories. With hindsight, would it have been a good idea for Barack Obama to sue over this birther theory that Donald Trump was among those who peddled for a while, that he was not born in Hawaii but born abroad in Kenya?
That was a different era. The social media atmosphere and environment was not as powerful as it is now. The platforms were not as well established. There were the beginnings of it for sure, but it was really in that 2016 election that followed Obama that the power of these was demonstrated, as it probably swayed the election through foreign interference efforts, as well as micro-targeting, using the Facebook platform, using other social media platforms in a way ruthlessly designed to accomplish a certain goal. And I think people were not aware before then of what could be accomplished. So for Obama, well before that, he probably did the right thing at that time. But if this was today, it might be a different story. And, we see this also. Look at how Gavin Newsom is attacking Trump. He's using the same methods and means, and that may be the only way left to establish the truth, ironically.
Eric Lisann, so many thanks for joining us from Washington.
Always my pleasure.
There's more coming up. You're watching France 24.